Hi there, and welcome back to English in Ease. I'm Emily, and I'm so glad you're here with me today. If you've ever found yourself freezing mid-sentence, scrambling to find the right word, or feeling like your thoughts are stuck in your native language instead of flowing freely in English, you're not alone. In fact, this is something many English learners face, and today we're going to explore exactly why that happens and how you can fix it. Let's start with something very real. Imagine you're in a conversation. Someone asks you a simple question like, "What do you do on weekends?" You know the answer. You do have a weekend routine, but suddenly your brain stalls. You're searching for words. You pause. Maybe you laugh nervously or say, while trying to fill the silence. That moment of pause, that gap, can feel endless. Now let me assure you, this is completely normal. It doesn't mean your English is bad. It simply means your brain is processing a lot at once. But here's the good news. With the right techniques, you can reduce those pauses and start speaking more fluently. Before we dive into the strategies to speak more smoothly, let's understand what's really going on when we hesitate. Because when we know what's causing the problem, we're better prepared to solve it. The first reason is lack of confidence. I hear this all the time from learners. "I don't want to make a mistake." Or, "What if I say the wrong thing?" This fear leads to hesitation. When we doubt ourselves, we pause. It's like our brain is hitting the brakes, constantly second guessing. Is this the right word? Did I use the correct grammar? And while you're busy worrying, the conversation has already moved on. The second reason we pause is something I call a vocabulary gap. Maybe you know what you want to say, but you just don't have the word for it in English. So, you stop. You think. You search. And meanwhile, silence stretches. This is why building a strong vocabulary, especially one that's relevant to your personal life and your niche, is so powerful. You want to give your brain a toolbox full of useful words that come out naturally when you need them. Now, here's a big one: overthinking. This happens when you try to translate your sentence from your native language into English before you speak. At first, this might feel logical, but here's the problem. Languages have different structures. What makes sense in one language might sound unnatural in another. So while your brain is busy converting one sentence to another, your speech gets delayed. It's like trying to run through water. The fourth reason is one that's easy to overlook: nervousness. Especially when speaking to native speakers or in high-pressure situations, your mind can just go blank. Even words you know well suddenly disappear. That anxiety slows down your brain's processing and increases the chances of freezing mid-sentence. Let's recap before we move forward. The four main reasons people pause when speaking English are lack of confidence, the fear of making mistakes; vocabulary gaps, not knowing the words you need in the moment; overthinking, trying to translate instead of speaking naturally; nervousness, pressure that freezes your thoughts. If you've experienced any of these, you are not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. That's what I want to remind you of today. Now that we understand the why, let's start exploring the how. How can we reduce those pauses and start speaking more smoothly? The first technique is what I like to call a mindset shift: thinking in English. This might sound intimidating, but it's one of the most transformative habits you can develop. Instead of building a sentence in your native language and then translating it, train your brain to form sentences directly in English. Let's say you're walking down the street. Instead of thinking, "Troy hom nai jep qua," and then translating that into, "The weather is so nice today," just think the English sentence straight away. The weather is so nice today. This might feel slow at first, but with time, it becomes automatic. Here's how you can practice. Describe what you see around you in simple English. The dog is sleeping. I'm drinking coffee. That building is tall. These small, present tense thoughts are a fantastic way to train your brain to think in English every day. Next up is something people often overlook: filler words. I know what you might be thinking. Aren't fillers a bad habit? Not necessarily. Native speakers use them all the time. Words like well, you know, actually, so, and I mean can buy you a little time to think without creating an awkward silence. Instead of a long pause, you might say, well, I think that's a good idea. Or, you know, I've always liked that kind of movie. These phrases keep the conversation going and make you sound more natural. Now, here's a technique I recommend to all my students: shadowing. If you're new to this term, shadowing is when you listen to a native English speaker and repeat exactly what they say, mimicking their tone, speed, and pronunciation. It's like echoing them in real time. You can use podcasts, YouTube videos, even scenes from movies or TV shows. Start by listening to one sentence, then pause and repeat. Try to match their pace and rhythm. This exercise helps your brain process English speech patterns faster and improves your speaking fluency. And the best part? You can do it alone, anytime. Finally, and this one's important, stop chasing perfection. Many learners pause because they want every sentence to be flawless. But in real life, even native speakers make mistakes. Fluency doesn't mean saying everything perfectly. It means expressing your thoughts smoothly, even if you make a few slips along the way. If you forget a word, try to explain it in another way. For example, if you can't remember the word refrigerator, you might say, the machine that keeps food cold. That's communication, and that's the goal. Let's recap these techniques before we move on. Think in English, not your native language. Use filler words to keep the flow. Practice shadowing to build natural rhythm. Focus on communication, not perfection. These are small habits that lead to big changes. You might not see results overnight, but if you stay consistent, your pauses will shrink and your fluency will grow. In the next part, we're going even deeper. I'll show you how to train your brain to think faster and respond quicker in English, something that can truly change your speaking experience. Stick with me. I'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Emily here again with English and Ease, and I'm so glad you're still with me. In part 1, we talked about the 4 big reasons we pause while speaking: lack of confidence, vocabulary gaps, overthinking, and nervousness. Then, we walked through 4 practical strategies to help you reduce those pauses: thinking in English, using filler words, shadowing, and letting go of perfection. Now, let's take it one step further. Let's talk about how to train your brain to process English faster. Because fluency isn't just about knowing what to say, it's about being able to say it quickly, smoothly, and naturally in real time. Here's something I want you to remember. Your brain is trainable. The more input you give it, the more patterns it recognizes. And when you expose your brain to English every day in the right way, it becomes more efficient, more automatic. This is the secret to fast, fluid speaking. So, how do we do it? Step 1. Build a strong foundation of vocabulary, but not just random words. Focus on phrases, not isolated vocabulary. Think of it like this: your brain stores language in chunks. When you only learn individual words, you have to construct every sentence piece by piece. But when you learn full phrases, you can plug them into your speech like ready-made building blocks. Let me give you an example. Instead of memorizing the word recommend, learn the whole phrase: I highly recommend it. Now, the next time someone asks for your opinion, your brain doesn't have to scramble. That phrase is ready to go. Here are some other useful chunks. As far as I know, to be honest, in my opinion, the thing is, I'm not quite sure, but Start collecting these. Write them down. Say them aloud. Use them when you speak. These chunks help you speak faster and more naturally. Step 2. Engage in active listening. This is different from passive listening, when you just let the words wash over you while you do other things. Active listening means you focus, listen carefully, and try to absorb the structure and rhythm of native English. Here's a little challenge. While listening to a podcast or a YouTube video in English, try to predict what the speaker is going to say next. For example, if the speaker says, "The reason I love this book is because," pause the audio. Try to guess their next few words. Then hit play and see how close you were. Why does this help? Because it trains your brain to anticipate language, and that anticipation builds speed. Step 3. Use a technique I call conversation anticipation. Let's say you're watching a dialogue in a movie or TV series. Don't just watch. Try to guess what one character will say in response to the other. This will train your brain to think faster in real conversations. For instance, imagine someone says, "I'm really tired today." You could guess they'll say something like, "I didn't sleep well last night," or "Work was crazy yesterday." This guessing game isn't just fun, it wires your brain for faster recall during real conversations. Step 4. Imitate your favorite native speakers. Imitation is one of the most powerful ways to internalize natural speech patterns. It's not just about copying words, it's about copying rhythm, tone, and stress. Choose someone you enjoy listening to. It could be a podcast host, an actor, or a YouTuber. Play 30 seconds of their voice, then pause and try to imitate them exactly, like a voice actor. Match their intonation, their pauses, their speed. This is like vocal training for fluency. You might feel a bit silly at first, but trust me, it works. It builds what we call muscle memory for speech. The more you imitate native speech, the more your brain adapts to produce language automatically. Let's recap the 4 techniques to train your brain for faster English response. Learn phrases, not just individual words. Listen actively and try to predict language. Practice conversation anticipation while watching or listening. Imitate native speakers to internalize natural rhythm and tone. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Emily, this all sounds great, but how do I practice these in a way that fits into my daily life? That's exactly what we're going to cover next. In the final part of today's episode, I'll walk you through some powerful speaking exercises that you can start doing right away, even if you're studying alone. But before we move on, I want to leave you with this thought. Fluency isn't a talent, it's a skill, and skills grow through training. The more deliberate and consistent your practice, the more automatic your speech becomes. You'll find yourself speaking English without pausing, not because you memorized a script, but because your brain is ready, agile, and trained to respond. In just a moment, we'll explore some hands-on fluency exercises. These are practical, simple, and designed for learners just like you. I promise they're not boring. They're real life, real use, real English speaking practice. So take a deep breath, maybe grab a notebook, and I'll see you in the next part. Welcome back to English in Ease. It's Emily again. So far, we've looked at what causes pauses in your English speaking, and then we dove deep into how to train your brain for faster speech using smart techniques like learning phrases, active listening, anticipating conversations, and imitating native speakers. Now, let's make it all practical. In this final part, I want to share some simple but powerful exercises you can do every day to practice speaking English fluently, even if you don't have a partner or a teacher with you. These are the same exercises I've used with my students to help them move from hesitation to confidence. Let's start with one of my favorites. Exercise 1, the 1-minute speaking challenge. Here's how it works. You choose a topic, any topic, and speak about it for 1 full minute without stopping. It could be something simple like, my morning routine, what I ate for lunch, my dream vacation. Set a timer and don't worry if you make mistakes. The goal is to keep going. Even if you say or that's okay. If you get stuck, use a filler word or paraphrase. Over time, this trains your brain to think on its feet. If 1 minute feels like too much at first, start with 30 seconds and build up from there. You'll be amazed at how quickly your fluency grows with just 5 minutes of this exercise a day. Exercise 2. Story retelling. This one is fun and really useful. Find a short story, a podcast episode, or even a short scene from a movie. Listen to it and then try to retell it in your own words. You can say, so, the story was about a girl who, in the beginning, they were talking about. Try to include as many details as you remember, but don't stress about being perfect. What you're doing here is practicing recall and rephrasing, two essential fluency skills. You can also combine this with shadowing. First shadow the dialogue, then pause and retell it. This mimics real conversations, where you listen, process, and then respond. Exercise 3. Speed conversation practice. This is especially helpful if you want to reduce hesitation and increase your reaction time. Set a timer for 2 minutes and talk quickly about a topic. If you have a friend, take turns asking and answering questions quickly. If you're alone, use a list of random questions like, what's your favorite season and why? What do you usually eat for breakfast? Would you rather live by the beach or in the mountains? The point is to respond without overthinking. Push yourself to keep the conversation moving, even if your answers aren't perfect. That pressure trains fluency. Exercise 4. Speech-to-text practice. Here's a modern tool you can use, your smartphone. Open a speech-to-text app or a voice typing tool and start speaking. The app will type what you say in real time. This gives you feedback on your pronunciation and clarity. Try to speak naturally for 1 minute and then check what the app wrote. If it misunderstands your words, that's a signal to slow down or work on those sounds. It's a great way to practice fluency and clarity at the same time. Let's quickly review those exercises. 1 minute speaking challenge. Build flow and endurance. Story retelling. Improve vocabulary recall and sentence structure. Speed conversations. Boost reaction time and reduce overthinking. Speech to text. Get feedback on pronunciation and fluency. Now, before we wrap up, let's take a moment to talk about something often overlooked when it comes to fluency, and that's mindset. Fluency isn't only about words, it's about how you feel when you speak. So let's shift your mindset and remove the mental blocks that hold you back. Mindset shift. 1. Mistakes help you grow. Every fluent speaker, yes, even native speakers, makes mistakes. And honestly, that's how we learn. So if you make a grammar mistake or forget a word, don't stop. Keep going. The more you speak, the more natural you'll become. So instead of thinking, what if I say it wrong? Think, every time I speak, I improve. Mindset shift. 2. Focus on communication, not perfection. You're not here to pass a test. You're here to communicate your ideas. That's the goal of language. If the person you're talking to understands you, then you've succeeded, even if your grammar wasn't perfect. I've met learners who waited years to speak because they wanted to be perfect first. But here's the truth. Perfection never comes. But progress? That comes every time you practice. Mindset shift 3. Speak with confidence. This is so important. Even if you're unsure, speak with confidence. Use your voice. Use your hands. Smile. People will respond more to your energy and tone than your vocabulary. When you speak with enthusiasm, even if you make mistakes, you'll come across as clear, warm, and capable. And that creates trust. It makes people want to listen. So here's what I want you to remember as we end today's episode. You already have the ability to speak English fluently. What you need now is consistent, confident practice. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start today with a 1 minute challenge, a story retelling, or a conversation with yourself in the mirror. Let's go over everything we covered today, just to bring it all together. First, we talked about why you pause while speaking: lack of confidence, vocabulary gaps, overthinking, and nervousness. Then we explored strategies like thinking in English, using filler words, shadowing, letting go of perfection. We trained your brain with phrase-based learning, active listening conversation, anticipation, imitation of native speakers, and we practiced fluency with 1 minute challenges, story retelling, speed conversation, speech to text feedback. Finally, we shifted your mindset to embrace mistakes, focus on communication, and speak with boldness. So now, here's your challenge this week. Pick just one technique from today and do it daily. Just one. Start small, stay consistent, and you will see results. And if this episode helped you, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment or a voice message telling me which exercise you tried, or even better, record your 1 minute speech and share it. I'm always cheering you on. Until next time, this is Emily from English in Ease, wishing you ease, joy, and confidence in your English journey. Take care and keep speaking.